Fight Forum. My name's Andre Jacobs, and following the main event of UFC 254, the epic build-up that was Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje, we now have the main event between Anderson Silva and Uriah Hall. Now, I'd like to compare this to a party. If UFC 254 was that crazy party that you went to, that somewhat, that, you know, everyone was doing like some wild dances, there may have been a stripper who done some interesting things, or, you know, someone's pounding a keg, that type of party. That's what UFC 254 was. The main event between Uriah Hall and Anderson Silva is kind of like the come down afterwards, you know, when you wake up next to someone and you're just like, well, this is what's going on. That's the level of excitement that I have for this fight. Violence is violence. And with two guys who are incredibly good at delivering on violence when they're at the top of their game, can I complain too much? I'm not so sure. However, this fight feels like it's about 6 or 7 years late. And Uriah Hall was that guy on The Ultimate Fighter who, if you even watched The Ultimate Fighter back in the day, Uriah Hall was like, just before the show came out, Dana White made this statement that there was a killer, an absolute killer in that season's Ultimate Fighter. And everyone was like, who is it? Who could this killer be? And it turned out to be Uriah Hall. Everyone remembers when he spinning wheel kicked that rich kid into oblivion, and he was sort of like, oh my God. And Uriah Hall was like, I'm sorry, child, but I had to destroy you to get what I want and what I deserve. I'm sorry. Like, I remember seeing that and being shook, like, who the fuck is this guy? But it kind of turned out that the real killer of the season was the dude who was picked last, and that was Kelvin Gastelum, who ended up beating him in the Ultimate Fighter finale. Go figure. And ever since then, I feel like Dana White almost cursed Uriah Hall following his stint in the Ultimate Fighter, because we all had these high expectations for him, but maybe that wasn't who he was supposed to be. Maybe he was just like the occasional highlight reel guy, but he was never really going to be championship potential. And that's fine, that's not a big deal. There's a lot of room for all action, all violence fighters, and he can certainly deliver that if he's in the right frame of mind. Anderson Silva is like, for some he's the GOAT, but every time he fights, especially recently, it feels like he's watering his legacy down. For those who've been watching the sport for more than 10 years or so, we've seen Anderson Silva destroy Rich Franklin's nose. We've seen Anderson Silva say, hey, Keanu Reeves, you're the guy from The Matrix. Fuck you! And hold my beer, right? And then go in there and proceed to absolutely destroy Forrest Griffin and make the former UFC light heavyweight champion and first winner of the Ultimate Fighter look like a novice, a fool, and someone who wasn't supposed to be in the octagon. You all know that's not the case, but that's how good Anderson Silva is. If we're even going even further, the front kick knockout of Vitor Belfort, epic, amazing stuff. He is a king among kings. Regardless of what Israel Adesanya has done in the middleweight division so far, regardless of how impressive it has been, Anderson Silva is still the greatest middleweight of all time. Despite this, we've had to see him perform at a far lower level than we ever thought we'd see. A part of me wishes that he retired after the second Chris Weidman fight, because he's never been the same since. Chris Weidman took his soul that night at UFC 162 all those years ago, and he's never been the same since. And this is really sad to say. You know, I enjoy both, well, especially Anderson Silva, but Uriah Hall has provided some exceptionally violent moments in his career. Anderson Silva is damn near known for it, but it's kind of like seeing the dude who we thought had all the potential in the world facing the guy who's on the biggest downward spiral of his career. And, you know, he should be, he's like in his 40s. After his last fight against Jared Cannonier, he didn't look right. When you've achieved as much as he's achieved inside of the octagon, although he might enjoy the idea of fighting and competing and that whole feeling you get when you're walking to the octagon, I don't think he has it anymore. Uriah Hall isn't a world beater. He's not Israel Adesanya. He's not Paulo Costa. He's not Jared Cannonier or Robert Whittaker, but he is still an exceptionally talented man. On his day, can beat a lot of fighters in that division. It saddens me to say this because I feel like we're all Anderson Silva fans, but I don't know why he's fighting anymore. I don't feel like this fight is gonna reignite his career. It could be a very, very violent loss for Anderson Silva. I feel like he's going down the Rashad Evans route where he's taking a bit of time off and he comes back and he's just simply not the same, and it becomes sad, and I don't want that to happen with Anderson Silva. If he's not willing to finish his career, it's definitely not going to happen on a high note now. I think it needs to probably be beaten out of him, and Uriah Hall will probably be the guy to maybe do it, which is kind of sad because I really want Anderson Silva to have a fairy tale ending, but that is damn near impossible now. I'm going to have to go with Uriah Hall for this fight just because I just don't think Anderson Silva has the fire and the drive to be the spider that we know and love. If you like the content that we're putting out, please like and subscribe and comment and share. Let other people know that this is the bomb diggity. No, I'm kidding. Let people know that this is the place to come to when it comes to mixed martial arts related news, opinions, reviews, predictions, everything and anything, interviews. We'll have it all, trust me. Take it easy, guys.